3I Atlas has just flown past our sun. In this instant, humanity's understanding of astronomy may have been quietly rewritten. The truth revealed by this close encounter has not unraveled the mystery surrounding it. Instead, it has made the object appear even more unfathomable and deeply unsettling. If this thing really is just a comet, then it is absolutely the most physics-defying, bizarre comet ever recorded in human history. But if it is something else, then the world is about to be forced to face this reality. Because the next target for 3I Atlas is us. At this very moment, in the year 2025, the arrival of this interstellar object comes with a disturbing coincidence. Our sun is currently at the peak of its rage. This year marks the solar maximum. It is a specific window that only cycles around once every 11 years. During this period, the sun is no longer the warm star we know. It transforms into a rampaging beast. The solar surface is torn apart by magnetic storms, and coronal mass ejections bombard the entire solar system like heavy artillery. This is why, this year, people even in low latitudes are seeing auroras so vibrant they look almost supernatural. That is the debris of the sun crashing into Earth's atmosphere. Any object daring enough to approach the sun at this specific time, whether a comet made of ice or a hardened asteroid, should, theoretically, be vaporized by temperatures reaching millions of degrees and torn to shreds by radiation storms. But 3I Atlas is different. It charged straight into the sun's core zone of fire, into that death zone. Not only was it not destroyed, not only did it not disintegrate, but it seemingly underwent a bone-chilling evolution. It acted as if it were absorbing the sun's energy, charging itself for something unknown. Let's look at the image NASA just released this week. At first glance, this photo taken by a Mars orbiter might disappoint you. It's just a fuzzy white dot against the backdrop of deep space. But do not be deceived by appearances. Behind this seemingly plain image lies data that is making astronomers across the globe break out in a cold sweat. Because the moment it crossed its perihelion, its behavior began to shatter our knowledge of astronomy, one rule at a time. First, there is the light. During its approach to the sun, its brightness exploded by seabag times in just a few days. For a comet, getting brighter due to heat is normal, but this kind of exponential eruption is not. Yet, that isn't even the scariest part. The most eerie thing is the change in its color. When we first captured it in the summer, it appeared red, which is reasonable as dust around a comet reflects red light. By September, it turned green, which usually implies the presence of diatomic carbon, rare, but understandable. However, when it entered the perihelion, the hottest region of the solar system, it turned completely into an icy, piercing electric blue. Spectroscopically, this is simply absurd. A normal comet, when approaching the sun and releasing more dust, should become redder. If you want it to turn blue, it must move in the opposite direction on the spectrum. This doesn't look like passive reflection of sunlight. This looks more like a high-energy ionization phenomenon, or a violent surge of power. Currently, the scientific community can only offer two strained explanations. Either it suddenly released an unknown gas with a highly specific composition that glows blue under high heat, or what we are seeing, T reflected light at all, but the plasma exhaust from an engine startup period. If you think the word engine sounds too sci-fi, too much like a conspiracy theory, then please listen patiently to what it did next. Because the following data contains hard anomalies that the laws of physics struggle to explain. After bursting with blue light, the object changed its course. It began to experience what is known as non-gravitational acceleration, NGA. To put it simply, it is pushing itself. The sun's massive gravity is like a deep pit. Any object passing by slides along the walls, its speed and orbit calculable by Newtonian mechanics and general relativity with a margin of error usually less than a few meters. But the movement trajectory of 3I Atlas is completely outside the predictions of gravitational formulas. The data doesn't lie. On October 29th, at its closest point to the sun, it performed an extra acceleration of 200 kilometers per day relative to the sun, and forcibly corrected its orbit outward by 135 kilometers. Please note the word corrected. We typically expect comets to experience slight non-gravitational acceleration at perihelion because the back pressure from venting gas pushes them. But when a normal comet is pushed by this kind of outgassing, it acts like a leaking balloon. It wobbles. Its trajectory is chaotic. But 3I Atlas is steady as a rock. It moves straight, precise, stable, and incredibly fast. Let's make a comparison so you understand how outrageous this is. The famous interstellar visitor Oumuamua, the cigar-shaped object that the chair of Harvard's astronomy department suspected was a light sail, showed anomalous acceleration. But Atlas's maneuver is double that of Oumuamua. And for a massive comet like Hale-Bopp, the acceleration effect from its outgassing was only 1% of what we are seeing with Atlas. This isn't just fast, this is defying gravity. If you saw this on a radar screen, you wouldn't think it was an out-of-control rock. You would instinctively feel that on the other side of that screen, there is a pilot. It used the sun's gravity for a slingshot assist, while simultaneously executing a surgically precise orbital maneuver. Then, on November 8th, as it moved slightly away from the sun, we captured that terrifying image. Look at those structures, no longer a blurry mist, but 7 perfectly symmetrical, sharp-edged jets, cutting through the darkness of space like laser beams. There is a massive physical contradiction here. Astronomers have calculated via light curves that this object rotates once every 16 hours. Imagine opening a nozzle on a spinning ball. What happens to the gas? The spin flings it into spirals, or blends it into a blurry fan. That is why normal comet tails are always fuzzy. But somehow, these jets on 3I Atlas are locked in direction. Regardless of how fast the body spins, these streams of matter maintain astounding structural stability, some pointing away from the sun, some even shooting directly into the sun against the solar wind. This suggests the source might have a modulation mechanism, or the ejection velocity and force are so high that they ignore the centrifugal effects of rotation. This doesn't look like random natural geological activity. This looks more like an ordered array. Just 24 hours later, on November 9th, the shape morphed drastically again. These jets merged into a massive plume 3 million kilometers long, dragging behind it like thick smoke rising from a fire. And ahead of it, it extended an anti-tail over 100,000 kilometers long. An anti-tail is usually an optical illusion, but on 3I Atlas, it looks more like a physical stream of matter. It isn't drifting with the solar wind. It is jetting strongly against the direction of the sun, facing the stellar storm head-on. Dynamically, this looks extremely like a braking maneuver, or an adjustment of flight attitude to prepare for the next orbital node. This sequence of insane maneuvers, color changes, and directional venting, if it were a normal comet, its core would have shattered from structural stress long ago. 3I Atlas is unscathed. The spacecraft endured the intense heat of perihelion, resisted tremendous gravitational forces, and preserved its structural integrity. This tells us that beneath those glowing gases lies an extremely solid, extremely dense, and extremely massive core entity. Latest observational estimates suggest its solid diameter could exceed 10 kilometers. That makes it 20 times larger than Oumuamua and 10 times larger than Borisov. If it were to impact Earth, its power would be enough to replay the dinosaur extinction event several times over. An object this huge, drifting through the empty silence of interstellar space for billions of years, avoiding every stellar gravity trap, missing every asteroid belt collision, yet happening to graze our sun right now. Just as human civilization has mastered high-precision space observation, and then, utilizing the sun's gravity for a massive orbital change, correcting its course to point at Earth in the scale of the universe, this probability can no longer be described as a coincidence. It's almost like a pre-programmed setting. Now, regardless of what 3I Atlas actually is, whether it's a rock behaving weirdly due to unknown geological chemistry, or an artifact beyond our current understanding of physics, or perhaps a probe left by a higher civilization, it is undoubtedly a very special signal sent by the universe. It has broken the silence. It challenges the rules. At this very moment, NASA, the ESA, and every top observatory and radio telescope on the planet are frantically gathering data. Scientists are sleepless in front of screens, trying to read the story within the numbers, trying to force existing theories to explain these unexplainable anomalies. Official briefings remain cautious, filled with vague words like possible, perhaps, and anomalous phenomena. But in the gaps of that silence, you can feel a tension spreading like never before. This is no longer distant scientific research. It is no longer data in a textbook. December 19th. Please memorize this date. This will be a day worth remembering in human history. On that day, 3I/Atlas will reach its closest distance to Earth. It will cross hundreds of millions of kilometers of darkness to arrive at our doorstep. That time, every eye in the world, from telescopes on the ground to sentinels in orbit, will be trained on it. We will see its true face with unprecedented clarity. Perhaps we will see a dead, rocky surface mocking our paranoia. Or perhaps we will see something that will change the course of human history forever. This time, it's not here to look at the sun. It is here to look at us. Whether it brings answers or more questions, whether it brings a miracle or a warning, it is already here. Look up and get ready. The truth is arriving.